So it appears that a lot of you are going to be asking me which gold order weapons we should get for this event, or should I say this sale. And I would say pretty simple. For example, for the Germans, you should get the Gewehr 43 Kurz, and for the Americans, you should get the T-20E1, and for the Soviets, and for the Japanese, well, that's a different story. For the Japanese, I personally think you do not need to get any gold order weapon because they're just not worth it. The Japanese have so much better stuff in-game. But for the Soviets, you do have a lot of good options. But in today's video, I'm going to be telling you about the only weapon that you need for fun. You can get a lot of good weapons, and I do actually have a lot of good weapons, but if you really want to have fun, I suggest only one weapon, and that is the RMN-50. This is essentially a Soviet grenade launcher. That grenade is the size of a mortar. So, yes, it literally is called 9-man hand mortar caliber 50mm, which is insane. Anyway, without further ado, I think we should get started with the video. In terms of history, this weapon is quote-unquote a 50mm rocket based on the Mosin Nagant and in between of the RM38 and RM40. Thanks to this design, many of the damaged Mosin Nagant rifles were modified with barrels to create the RM50. These had rifled iron sights, as we could see in game, allocated to the new barrel. The RM50 fired 50mm mortar shells with the propelling engine removed, meaning that it's essentially used for a short range, and thus you do have to kind of aim. But without further ado, let's move on to the stats, and the stats are pretty dang simple if you ask me. The RMN-50 is a caliber of 50mm, and it's a one-shot that has 5 rounds. Yes, it has 1 shot, 5 rounds in reserve, and you can essentially use this as a grenade launcher. My personal opinion is that this is actually pretty good than any grenade launcher because this does more damage, so think of this as a mortar and you can just go around town and just blow people up with a mortar that is essentially with the iron sights of a Mosin Nagant. That said, let's move on to the verdict, and I do think there's a lot of good things with the RMN-50, meaning the fact that this thing has a 50mm essentially mortar that is handheld and is essentially good for, well, anything against mass targets of infantry. I haven't yet tried this on tanks, and in all reality, this is not that good against tanks, for my personal opinion, but against infantry, it really shines. Now, the only downside of this is that once you use it at close range, which I highly don't suggest that you do, you have the unfortunate capability of actually killing yourself. Yes, because you're holding a mortar, and if you fire the mortar at close range, you're most likely to kill yourself. That said, I suggest that you use it at range, and what I mean use it at range, I mean use it on the high ground. So, use it on the high ground, and fire down below. Because if you do that, you're going to be good. Needless to say, I do think this is one of the best gold order weapons if you want to have fun in Enlisted. Personally suggest that you get it. And if you guys want to ask me about the other gold order weapons that you should get, comment in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one.